So, before we get into this article, I want to tell y'all a quick story about my early childhood in the 90s and why I believe the 90s were the peak years of video games and fighting games in general. But to me, I remember way back in 95 or 96 when I was in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Shout out to my family down there. I love y'all. So, Rock Hill, South Carolina is my childhood country because the first time I went there, I fell in love with my family, the country. It was peaceful, quiet, fire alarms, no fire trucks, no gunshots, based on my memories of that place. But it wasn't until I went to my Uncle Frank's house for the first time and I met my cousin Tennille, shout outs to him. And it was right after we came from a baseball game. He had a Sega Genesis Model 2. And the game that I saw, it was brand new that I've never seen before. It was Eternal Champions on the Sega Genesis. The music, the soundtrack, the character art, and the character models, large sprite, it basically was inspired by Street Fighter. But as a child, I was trying to figure out how to do the moves and memorize the techniques because I was a kid back then, because I was playing the game because I got curious. Because at the time when 93 was rolling around, I was 2. So I wasn't really aware of the game until like 2 years later when I got older. Not only that, Tennille got the same games that I got on the Sega Genesis, but we both have a lot of common. We like Power Rangers, we love playing fighting games, video games in general, we're just being kids. So that right there really good to show you that in the 90s, your childhood memories always started with family members. If you have the best experience with them, whether it's in video games, music-wise, just enjoy what you have while you can. So, shout out to my family from Rock Hill, South Carolina, my cousins, my aunt, my uncles. Recipes to Uncle Frank, Uncle Hezekiah. Love y'all. And yeah, let's get into this story that everybody is talking about on Twitter that really has me excited. Not only that, but we're getting a movie. Eternal Champions movie. You heard that correctly. We are definitely getting a movie that is based on a questionable fighting game, but it's in development. So this one is really interesting. Let's dive into this article. Derek Connolly, the franchise Scribe, whose work includes the Jurassic World movies, has been tapped to direct the live-action adaptation of Sega video game Eternal Champions for Skydance. David Allison, Dana Goldberg, and Don Granger will produce for Skydance, while Toru Nakahara, who has overseen the adaptation of Sega's Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, will produce for the video game producer. Originally released in 1993, Eternal Champions was a fighting game that Sega developed and published for the Sega Genesis console. The concept bear with us was thus: in order to change the dire fate of Earth, a being known as the Eternal Champion marshals the souls of key humans from across history, people who were destined for greatness but died before fulfilling their premise. The individuals are thrown into a contest of champions, with the winner regaining their life and becoming a hero Earth needs in order to restore balance, with the others returning to moments before their deaths. The game was praised for its characters, which were a multitude ranging from Blade, a Syrian bounty hunter from 2030 AD, and Larson, a cat burglar in the 1920s, to Slash, a hunter from 50,000 BC, to Jeddah, a Russian noblewoman masquerading an acrobat at the turn of the 20th century. Robbery credited with bringing Skydance and Sega together, on the project is executive producing. Amy River will oversee the project for Skydance. Connolly broke through when he co-wrote Safety Not Guaranteed with Colin Trevorrow, earning an Independent Spirit Award for Best First Screenplay in 2013 and Waldo Salt Screenwriting Award at Sundance 2012. Since then, he has gained a reputation as a go-to scribe for franchises, be they dino-centric or lightsaber wielding. He worked with Trevorrow on Jurassic World, the 2015 movie that rebooted the dino franchise. It made $1.67 worldwide. In 2018 entry Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Along the way, he has earned credits on Legendary's Monsterverse entry called Skull Island, Star Wars, Rise of Skywalker, and 2019's Detective Pikachu. More recently, he has worked on Sony and Nintendo's adaptation of classic video game Legend of Zelda, which has West Ball on board to direct, and is in the middle of working on Paramount's untitled Transformers and G.I. Joe crossover movie project that is to star Chris Hemsworth. Where all I gotta say is what a time to be alive right now, because I just saw this on Twitter and I had to make a video on this like crazy, because I love Eternal Champions even though I've never beaten the game, but it's fun. It's a fun fighting game. Yes, the moves were a bit difficult to pull off, but I just remember seeing the graphics and how colorful the game was for a Sega Genesis video game. So the fact that it's getting its own movie for the first time in 30 years is really interesting. So like I said, I was around 2 years old when the game first came out, and I wasn't aware of the game until like around mid-90s when I got to play the Sega Genesis. But at the time, I wasn't old enough to play it. But as a 6-year-old kid, I just knew that I was on to something when I first got my hands on the game in South Carolina. So what are your thoughts on this news? Are you excited that Eternal Champions are getting their first movie? Let me know in the comments down below.